Back in early 2024, I had big plans to grow the business. I was going to create lots of low-cost products to offer on different websites. I was going to start an Etsy shop. I was going to write a book or two or three. I even considered starting an agency to create done-for-you business setups for people. You know, the website and the email marketing plan and the shopping cart, the whole thing in one package. Now, you've probably already guessed that none of that actually happened. Not because I didn't want to do it or because I didn't have the energy or the time or the resources to make it happen. It didn't happen because I realized what a colossally bad idea it was. This is episode 140 of the Tiny Course Empire podcast, and today I'm going to tell you why adding more products, more marketing channels, more courses, more services, more membership levels, more coaching programs, more anything is almost always a waste of your time. And not only that, but adding more things actually has the power to lead to less revenue in your business. So instead, I'm going to encourage you to do less, but do it better. So let's get into it. Hey, real quick before we dig into today's topic, I just want to remind you that all of the resources that I mentioned are linked below, along with my clear framework. If you haven't grabbed that yet, be sure to sign up for that download and e-course. It's the blueprint that's going to take you from no business to 6 or even 7 figures, as simple as it might seem when you first dive into it. Don't let that simplicity fool you, because it really is a powerful guide to launching a brand new business from scratch. If you're new to the show, be sure to hit the subscribe button. New episodes drop every Monday morning. And next week, we're going to talk about how to build your own business roadmap, even if you're brand new and think that you don't know what you're doing. But that's next week. This week, we're all about simplifying and streamlining and how doing that and scaling back even can make your business better and stronger and more profitable, as counterintuitive as that might sound. In 2018, when I let go of all of my virtual assistant clients in order to pursue a business, creating courses and a membership site, I hired a business coach. And she guided me through creating my very first course. And it took weeks and weeks and weeks to do. And we launched it and it was very successful. And our next call we got on, she asked me, "So what's next?" And I thought about it a minute and I said, "Well, I guess I'm going to create my next course." She wasn't having it. She told me that it was my job for the foreseeable future not to be creating new courses and new products, but to be promoting and improving on what I had already created. So here I was, all stuck in production mode, thinking that the only way forward was to create more, to do more, to make more courses and more products and more offers to the same people. But she saw opportunities to sell my existing course to different people instead. I would love to tell you that her words changed my mindset, that the switch was flipped and I went from production mode to promotion mode just like that, but it didn't happen. Over the next couple of years, I completely ignored her advice and I went on to create 60 more courses. Those are all inside my 6-figure systems program, so I'm not going to tell you that that was a waste of my time, because it was not. 100% was not a waste of my time, and I do not regret creating those courses, nor do I regret spending that time on them. That was a good use of my time. But I can't help but wonder what would have happened if I had taken that original course and followed my coach's advice instead. If I had it to do over again, maybe I would have made a different choice. Today, I'm working with coaching clients And I'm still seeing this as a major stumbling block for people. I can't even tell you how many times I have told a course creator or a membership site owner that they are spreading themselves too thin, that they are creating too many products or too many options, and that it's not serving them or their customers well. As that old saying goes, less really is more. Less really is better. And there's actual science to back that up. You've probably heard of the Pareto principle. It's sometimes called the 80-20 rule, and it's named after its discoverer, an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto. It wasn't really well known until 1941 when a business consultant named Joseph Juran, who worked in quality control, discovered the writing of Pareto, and he realized that this 80-20 rule applied to his business as well. What he found was that 80% of quality problems were caused by 20% of the issues in the process. Juran actually named this phenomenon the Pareto principle, giving credit to the original discoverer, but he actually preferred to call it the law of the vital few and the useful many. And we're going to come back to that in just a minute. But simply put, the Pareto principle states that for any given outcome, 80% of your results will come from 20% of your efforts. That goes for making money, building an email list, selling a coaching program, or even non-business goals like getting in shape or lowering your A1C. Yes, I'm still working on that. I should probably listen to my own advice here. Anyway, the Pareto principle is always at play. It's not always exactly 80-20. Sometimes it's 70-30 or 90-10. But the results you are looking for will always disproportionately come from the smaller amount of your efforts. This is exactly what Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy wrote about in their book, 10x is easier than 2x. In the book, they're looking at this strictly from a business point of view, and they offer up several examples to prove what they are saying. My favorite example is a company called Stream Logistics, which is a trucking company for the construction industry. They found that 95% of their customers were what they call routine freight, meaning just regular, move this piece of equipment from this location to that location, nothing special about it. It was just routine. Then there was the 5%. This is what they called high stakes freight. This was complex equipment, complicated moves, really high-end boutique stuff. These customers weren't price shopping, they were loyal to Stream Logistics, and in comparison, this tiny percentage of customers made up a much larger proportion of their overall profits. Now, it wasn't 80%, but it was much higher than the profits coming in from the routine freight customers. I'm sure you can guess the end of the story here. Stream Logistics decided to focus on those high-stakes freight customers. They stopped actively pursuing the routine freight jobs and instead put all of their efforts behind this tiny percentage of their customers. And in the next 3 years, they grew their revenue by 60% and increased their profit margins by 4 times. All without adding any additional employees or any additional overhead. In other words, they did less, but they did it better. And that brings me back to you and to me. How can we do less, but do it better? Well, there's a few questions that you can ask yourself, a few things that you should be considering. First of all, ask yourself which of your offers perform better than anything else. Maybe it's that course that you released a year ago that blew up, or maybe it's a particular coaching offer that always brings in new clients whenever you offer it. Are you giving that offer enough attention? Are you actively improving and promoting it? If not, consider refocusing your attention on that offer. You already know it works. You already know it's bringing in the revenue. So if you are spreading yourself too thin, spending your time on other things, refocus those efforts on that offer that really has proven itself for you. Another thing to consider are the things that you routinely find yourself procrastinating on. I told myself a long time ago that I was going to take my Notion template, the one that I use for creating my content calendar. I have this big Notion template all mapped out, and it works really well for me. And I have told myself for a long time that I was going to take that Notion template and I was going to package it up as a template, and I was going to sell it on Gumroad or some other marketplace, just as, proof of concept, a little side income, little side hustle thing going on. And yet, I continue to not do it. I continue to procrastinate on it. I continue to push it off in favor of other things. So that is something that I am definitely procrastinating on. I finally just gave myself permission to let it go, and I put it back on my someday list. It's okay to decide I am not going to work on this thing. It is a waste of my time and my mental energy to keep thinking about it when I could be doing other things that are actually bringing in revenue and income to my business. And speaking of money, here's a thought experiment I want you to consider. If you were suddenly unable to work more than a couple of hours a week, but you had to maintain your income, what would you do? And what would you let go of? When your time is truly limited, you suddenly get very, very clear on what is most important in your business. What is really bringing in the money? Where would you spend your time? There's one last thing that I want to leave you with. I told you that Joseph Juran, who named the Pareto principle, didn't particularly like that 80-20 designation that people were putting on it. He felt that it made the 80% look completely useless when that is almost never the case. He preferred the name the law of the vital few and the useful many, meaning that while 20% of your efforts are clearly the most important, that doesn't necessarily mean that the other 80% are completely useless. They should not be dismissed entirely. This was true in his business, of course, which was quality control, because in some industries, there is zero tolerance for any quality issues. So you cannot just completely dismiss the 80% of the things that are causing just a small percentage of your quality problems. You have to fix everything. In our world, the 80-20 split looks different. It's true that six-figure systems brings in 80% of my revenue, and that other things like this podcast, my Substack, that book that I keep hinting about, and lots of other things make up 80% of my efforts. Does the 80-20 rule then mean that I should give up all of those other things and focus only on six-figure systems? Of course not. But it does give me a lens through which I can view any other projects that I might think about taking on. In my big box of marketing ideas, I have a big box of marketing ideas, right? Well, in my big box, you will find notes that say things like, consider starting a LinkedIn newsletter or pitch articles to a print magazine. Those are both good ideas, but do they fit with my plan to do less but better? Probably not. In fact, doing those things would eat into the time that I know that I should be spending on things that are already working for me. So I'm going to leave those ideas in my big box of marketing ideas. Maybe I'll come back to them later. Maybe I won't. But right now, I'm going to focus on the things that are more important, like improving six-figure systems, creating better training materials, and being a better coach for my clients. It's taken me a long time to really recognize the truth in what my coach was telling me all those years ago. I think I had to see it from her point of view before I could really internalize it. I had to see it as a coach looking at my coaching clients before I could see it in my own business. Now that I've seen it, I honestly can't unsee it. And I am always asking myself, is this project a good use of my time, or is it a distraction from the things that I know work, from the things that I know I should be spending more time on, that I should be prioritizing? And that means that some great ideas don't ever see the light of day. And that's okay, because letting go of them makes room for the things that really do matter. Now it's your turn. What are you going to eliminate from your business to make it easier for you to focus on the things that really do matter? Focus on the things that are growing your email list or bringing in new revenue instead of the things that are a waste of your time and your effort and really aren't pulling their own weight. And could you do me a favor? If you have a friend or a colleague who could use business building advice, would you share the link with them? It's the best way to help this YouTube channel and podcast grow, and I appreciate your support. That's it for me today. I will be back next week with my best tips for creating a business marketing plan from scratch, even if you don't have any experience and even if you think you don't know what you're doing. Have a terrific rest of your day, and I will see you again next week.